Pain is the greatest teacher you'll ever have, but most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it. They run from it like it's a monster, when in reality, it's the sculptor shaping the man you're supposed to become. Think about it. Every great transformation in your life came after something broke you. Every ounce of wisdom you carry was born from a mistake, from a failure, from a moment where you thought you were finished. That's pain doing its work. That's life giving you a lesson you can't buy, can't fake, can't learn from a book. You see, comfort never teaches. Comfort only soothes. It tells you you're fine when you're not. Pain, on the other hand, is the alarm clock of growth. It wakes you up when you've been asleep too long, when your life becomes too easy, when every day starts feeling the same. That's when your soul starts dying. You were not designed to be safe. You were designed to evolve. And evolution is a bloody, uncomfortable process. There's no growth without struggle, no strength without resistance, no greatness without scars. When you go to the gym, you understand this naturally. You know that if the weights don't hurt, you're not progressing. That pain in your muscles, that's the feeling of growth. That's how strength is built. Yet when life applies the same principle to your mind, your heart, your soul, you panic. You call it unfair. You think life is against you, but it's not. It's training you. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every failure, every sleepless night, it's your mind's gym. It's building you into something harder to break, something unstoppable. Most people don't understand that pain is life's way of testing your worthiness. You say you want success. You say you want power. You say you want to be respected, and life says, all right, let's see if you mean it. So it throws chaos your way. It gives you challenges, problems, heartbreaks, losses. It gives you just enough pain to see if you're serious. Because anyone can talk about success, but only those who can endure the grind earn it. Pain exposes who you are. It strips away your excuses. When things are easy, everyone looks strong, everyone looks confident. But the moment it hurts, that's when the truth comes out. That's when you find out whether you actually have discipline or you've just been pretending. That's when you see whether you're a man of commitment or a man of comfort. And the thing about pain is it never lies. It will always tell you the truth about yourself. You can either let that truth destroy you, or you can let it drive you. When you start seeing pain as a lesson instead of a punishment, your entire mindset changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because every painful moment carries a message, and those who listen to it evolve, while the rest stay stuck repeating the same cycles forever. You don't become confident because life was easy. You become confident because you survived hell and came back smarter. You don't become wise by being happy all the time. You become wise by watching everything fall apart and still choosing to rebuild. Every single skill that makes you powerful, patience, focus, control, awareness, all of them are born from pain. You can't learn discipline from happiness. You learn discipline when it hurts to keep going, but you do it anyway. The people who try to avoid pain also avoid transformation. They live small, safe, predictable lives because they're terrified of discomfort. But that comfort is a prison. It keeps you soft. It keeps you ordinary. You start fearing change because change requires struggle, and struggle requires pain. But what they don't understand is that avoiding pain doesn't save you, it only delays it. You'll suffer eventually, but it will be meaningless suffering. At least when you choose your pain, it serves a purpose. You must embrace pain the way a blacksmith embraces fire. Because just like fire, pain can destroy you if you fear it, but if you learn to work with it, it can forge you into steel. Pain is the universe's way of saying, you're being upgraded. Every breakdown is a rebuild in progress. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're being hardened for something greater, molded for something massive. When you understand this, you stop running. You stop complaining. You stop seeking an easy life because you realize the easy life is an illusion. You start walking into the storm willingly because you know that every strike of lightning is energy being transferred to you. You start using the pain. You start listening to it. Because in every ounce of suffering, there's a secret, a lesson, a seed of power waiting to be harvested. So when life hurts, don't flinch. Don't beg for mercy. Stand tall and pay attention. That's your teacher talking to you. Pain is the mentor that doesn't lie, doesn't sugarcoat, doesn't flatter you. It shows you exactly where you're weak so you can fix it. It shows you who you are so you can decide who you want to become. And the moment you stop fighting it, the moment you accept it as part of the process, that's when you start to rise. Because the man who learns from pain becomes the man who can't be defeated. Comfort is the most seductive poison in the world. It feels good, it tastes sweet, it whispers that everything is fine, but it kills your ambition quietly, slowly, without you even noticing. That's why most people never reach greatness, because they choose comfort over challenge. They choose easy over evolution. They convince themselves they're content, but deep down, they know they've settled. They've traded the fire in their soul for a couch and a screen, and they call that happiness. Let me tell you the truth, comfort is not peace, it's paralysis. It's the slow death of purpose. It's what happens when you stop pushing your limits and start protecting your weaknesses. You see, the human mind wasn't built for comfort. It was built for conquest. You were designed to chase, to fight, to struggle, to build, to break and rebuild stronger. The moment you remove struggle from your life, you remove growth. Without resistance, there's no progress. Without discomfort, there's no dominance. People talk about wanting freedom. They want financial freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, but comfort is the opposite of freedom. Because the more comfortable you become, the more dependent you are. Dependent on your routine, dependent on your habits, dependent on things staying the same. You become terrified of change. You lose your adaptability, your hunger, your instinct. You stop being a warrior and start being a tourist in your own life. That's why I say comfort is the real enemy. It's the invisible chain that keeps people weak. It's not your job. It's not society. It's not the government holding you back. It's your addiction to feeling good all the time. You think you deserve ease. You think you deserve relaxation, but you haven't earned it yet. You're still at war and you're trying to take a vacation. How do you expect to win a battle? You're not even fighting. Winners live in discomfort. They wake up tired. They go to bed sore, and they repeat it without complaint. They understand that pain is the price of progress. Meanwhile, the world is full of people chasing comfort and calling it happiness. But look at their lives. They're anxious, unfulfilled, restless. They scroll through their phones trying to escape reality, but it's not the world they're running from, it's themselves. Because deep down, they know they've become too soft to handle the truth. You can't build a strong mind in a soft environment. The more comfortable your surroundings, the weaker your mindset becomes. That's why you must deliberately put yourself in uncomfortable situations, wake up early when your body wants sleep, train harder when your mind wants rest, take responsibility when your ego wants excuses. Every time you choose discomfort, you sharpen your edge. Every time you choose comfort, you dull it. You want to know why most people stay average. It's because they're addicted to pleasure and allergic to pain. They'll do anything to avoid a little bit of struggle, skip the gym, skip the grind, skip the discipline, then wonder why their life feels meaningless. You can't be powerful and comfortable at the same time. It's one or the other. You either choose the easy path and stay ordinary, or you choose the hard path and earn your place among the few who actually live with purpose. Comfort gives you nothing but the illusion of safety. You think you're protecting yourself from pain, but what you're really doing is protecting your limitations. Every time you hide from discomfort, you're reinforcing weakness. You're telling your brain, I can't handle that. And guess what? It starts believing you. Your confidence doesn't grow by feeling good. It grows by conquering what you fear. So when you avoid challenge, you rob yourself of power. That's why you have to rewire your relationship with comfort. You have to stop chasing the easy way and start chasing the right way. There's a difference between rest and weakness. Rest is earned. Weakness is chosen. Rest is recovery after a fight. Weakness is avoiding the fight altogether. You have to ask yourself every day, am I resting because I've earned it, or because I'm escaping the discomfort of effort? If it's the second one, you're losing ground. Look around. Everything that's worth anything came from struggle. The strongest trees grow where the wind is harshest. The sharpest swords are forged in the hottest fires, and the strongest men are built in the darkest moments. Comfort produces nothing. It gives birth to excuses, laziness, and regret. Every man who ever achieved greatness had to step into pain voluntarily. They didn't wait for motivation, they created it by enduring hardship. And here's the crazy part: the more you face discomfort, the more you realize it's not that bad. The pain that used to scare you becomes normal. You stop flinching. You stop hesitating. Your threshold for difficulty increases. What once broke you now barely bothers you. That's real growth, not fake positivity, not affirmations, but raw adaptation to pressure. You evolve into someone who can handle anything because you've trained for it every single day. So when you feel tired, when your mind screams for rest, when your body wants to stop, that's the moment that defines you. Because comfort will beg you to quit. It will whisper that you deserve a break, that you've done enough, that life is short and you should relax. But that voice isn't your friend, it's your enemy. It's the voice that keeps lions asleep and kings forgotten. And if you listen to it long enough, it will convince you to settle for a life you were never meant to live. The world doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about how many times you've been hurt, how unfair life has been, or how tired you are. It only respects results. It only bows to those who refuse to break. That's the truth most people don't want to face. They want sympathy more than success. They want comfort more than conquest. But the world doesn't pay you in pity, it pays you in power. And that power only belongs to the unbroken. Every single person on this planet will face pain. Everyone gets betrayed. Everyone fails. Everyone feels lost, but only a handful rise from it. Only a few keep walking when everything inside them says stop. That's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Not luck, not talent, not timing, but the sheer, relentless refusal to give up. You can break a man's bones, but if you can't break his will, he becomes unstoppable. That's who the world rewards, the ones who still stand when the storm is over and the dust has settled. Think about it. Life will hit you harder than any opponent ever could. It'll hit you when you least expect it. It'll take everything you thought you needed, your money, your comfort, your certainty, your confidence, and it'll watch what you do next. Most people collapse. They start blaming everything and everyone. They start saying, it's not fair. But fair doesn't exist. The world doesn't operate on fairness, it operates on strength, and strength isn't given, it's proven. The people who win in this world aren't the ones who had an easy road. They're the ones who could walk through hell and still keep their head straight. They didn't have better circumstances, they had better resilience. When life broke their plans, they rebuilt. When life broke their heart, they kept moving. When everything went wrong, they showed up anyway. That's why they win. Because pain tests everyone, but quitting destroys only one person, you. When you learn to endure pain without losing focus, you become dangerous. Most people can fight when it's easy. Most people can work hard when they feel motivated. But the true test of strength is whether you can stay disciplined when everything feels like it's falling apart. That's the moment that reveals who you really are. Can you stay calm when life screams chaos? Can you stay driven when nobody believes in you? Can you keep moving when your soul feels heavy? If the answer is yes, then congratulations, you're already ahead of 99% of people. You see, everyone wants to be successful until they realize what success demands. Success doesn't demand happiness. It demands endurance. It demands the ability to keep pushing even when your motivation is dead, when your energy is gone, when your emotions are against you. That's when most people fold. They give up and call it destiny. But destiny doesn't choose the strongest man. It chooses the man who refuses to stay down. That's the code the world runs on. It rewards consistency. It rewards resilience. It rewards the ones who can take the hit and still move forward. The world has no sympathy for weakness because weakness is a choice. Pain is inevitable, but quitting is voluntary. You can be broken, but you can't let yourself stay broken. You can lose battles, but you must never lose belief. The people at the top are not superhuman. They're simply unbreakable. They've learned to turn pain into performance. They've learned that endurance is the most valuable currency in existence. Because once the world sees that you won't quit, it stops testing you and starts respecting you. The difference between the winners and the lost isn't intelligence, it's tolerance. Winners can tolerate more pain, more rejection, more failure, more uncertainty. They're willing to carry the weight longer than anyone else. And eventually, the world bows to their persistence. Because the world doesn't belong to the fastest or the strongest, it belongs to the last man standing. When you quit, you teach the world how to treat you. You teach it that a little pressure is enough to make you crumble. But when you don't break, when you take everything thrown at you and still push through, the world starts to respect your existence. Opportunities start opening because the universe recognizes resilience. That's the irony of life. The moment you stop chasing ease and start embracing difficulty, everything you wanted begins to move toward you. Every legend, every icon, every man who changed history was unbroken. They all went through pain you can't imagine: betrayal, humiliation, poverty, isolation. But they didn't let it destroy them. They understood something most never do. Pain doesn't mean stop. It means keep going. It means you're close. It means you're being refined for something bigger. And that's why the world remembers them. Because when others ran from pain, they ran into it. You can't hide from life's trials. They'll find you anyway. But when they do, stand tall. Let the world throw everything it has. Because the world doesn't reward those who never fall, it rewards those who refuse to stay down. The unbroken are the ones who walk through the storm and keep walking. They don't wait for rescue. They don't beg for luck. They keep their head high and their heart on fire because they understand that no matter how many times they're tested, they will not shatter. And that's exactly why they rise above everyone else. Every time something goes wrong in your life, you have two choices. You can cry about it, or you can calculate from it. You can let the pain control you, or you can use it as data. Most people don't realize that their suffering is full of information. Every setback, every failure, every betrayal carries a lesson, a message that life is sending directly to you. But you can't read it if you're emotional. You can't see it if you're complaining. You've got to step back, breathe, and turn that suffering into a strategy. Pain is not the end, it's feedback. It's your body, your mind, your environment saying something needs to change. But people don't listen. They feel pain and immediately think something's wrong with them. They start doubting themselves instead of decoding the lesson. The successful ones don't do that. They study their pain. They analyze it. They ask questions. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? What can I do better next time? Because winners don't waste pain, they recycle it. When life hurts you, it's not punishment, it's programming. You're being recoded. Every mistake is teaching you efficiency. Every failure is refining your approach. Every heartbreak is sharpening your judgment. That's why some people evolve faster than others, not because they're lucky, but because they use pain as a teacher instead of a trigger. They don't let their emotions blind them. They let logic lead them. Imagine going through pain and coming out with nothing to show for it. That's what happens when you refuse to learn from your suffering. You suffer twice, once from the event and again from the lesson you ignored. But when you turn that pain into a plan, suddenly it becomes an investment. You're buying wisdom with suffering. You're gaining insight that can't be taken away from you. That's what powerful people do. They turn their pain into precision. When you fail in business, don't sulk, strategize. What went wrong? Was it timing, effort, execution, discipline? Find the weak link, fix it. When someone betrays you, don't drown in emotion, observe. What did you miss? What signs did you ignore? Next time, you'll move differently. You'll see clearer. Pain teaches awareness if you're willing to face it. Every time life burns you, you're either becoming bitter or better. The choice is yours. Pain is a compass. It shows you where you need to improve. When something hurts, that's not a sign to stop. It's a signal pointing to the area of weakness. You're supposed to work on it, not run from it. If your emotions are fragile, strengthen them. If your finances are unstable, educate yourself. If your relationships are chaotic, upgrade your boundaries. Pain highlights what's broken so you can rebuild it properly. But people don't like facing that truth. They prefer to distract themselves. They want quick comfort instead of long-term control. You can't escape pain, but you can manage it like a professional. That's the difference between amateurs and masters. Amateurs react, they panic, they rage, they quit. Masters respond, they think, they adapt, they evolve. That's why life keeps rewarding the same few people, not because they don't feel pain, but because they know what to do with it. They have learned to weaponize suffering. They take what was meant to destroy them and turn it into the very thing that propels them forward. Think about every champion you admire. Their stories aren't built on sunshine, they're built on storms. Every setback they faced became a source of strength because they treated pain like a map, not a cage. When they failed, they didn't curse the situation, they studied it. They dissected it. They learned exactly how to avoid it next time. That's strategy. That's intelligence forged from adversity. Suffering gives you clarity when comfort blinds you. When everything goes wrong, suddenly you see what truly matters. You stop wasting time on nonsense. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You start seeing what's real. Pain forces perspective. It strips away distractions and shows you what's essential. That's why pain is the birthplace of wisdom. It cleanses your vision. You've got to stop viewing pain as chaos and start viewing it as construction. Life breaks you down to rebuild you better. But if you interrupt that process by complaining, you stay broken. You have to trust the process enough to study it. There's strategy in suffering if you know how to extract it. Write down what you're learning. Reflect on what changed. Create a plan so that the same pain never repeats, because unlearned pain always returns. And here's what most people miss. The moment you learn from your pain, you gain control over it. The next time a similar challenge comes, it doesn't scare you. You've seen it before. You've survived worse. You know exactly how to move. That's real power. That's what it means to turn pain into strategy. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intelligently. You can't stop pain from happening, but you can decide whether it becomes a weapon or a wound. Every broken moment in your life is a potential tool waiting for you to use it. Most people let it rust, but the strong polish it, sharpen it, and fight with it, because pain doesn't have to end you, it can equip you. Every time you go through suffering, there's a blueprint hidden in it. All you have to do is look closely, listen carefully, and move strategically. That's how you stop being a victim of pain and start being a student of it. That's how you turn your suffering into success. Pain makes people emotional. That's the first thing you've got to understand. Pain triggers feelings of anger, fear, sadness, and doubt. And when you let those emotions take control, they start driving your life like a reckless driver on a mountain road. You crash not because of what happened to you, but because of how you reacted to it. That's the difference between ordinary people and the elite. The weak feel pain and lose control. The strong feel pain and remain calm. They don't let emotion dictate their actions. They use logic like a weapon and composure like armor. When everything is falling apart, that's when your emotions scream the loudest. Your mind starts lying to you. It tells you to quit, to take a break, to lash out, to blame someone. It feeds you comfort to silence your pain. But that's exactly when you need discipline the most. You've got to silence the noise and remember your mission. Because emotion is temporary, it fades. But the damage caused by emotional decisions lasts forever. The man who can master his emotions becomes untouchable because nothing outside of him has power over him anymore. You ever wonder why people make the worst choices when they're angry or sad? It's because they lose logic, they lose clarity, they stop thinking in long-term patterns and start reacting to short-term feelings. That's dangerous. Emotion clouds your judgment, and once judgment is gone, chaos begins. You might have talent, intelligence, or strength, but without emotional control, all of it burns out. Your ability to remain calm when it hurts determines how far you go. That's why emotional discipline isn't just a skill, it's a superpower. When someone insults you, tries to provoke you, or betrays you, your natural instinct is to react. You want to fight back, prove a point, show emotion. But that's exactly what weak people do. Strong men don't react, they respond. They observe first, process second, act third. Because they understand that energy is currency and emotional people spend it recklessly. The man who can stay calm under pressure holds all the power in the room. His silence intimidates louder than most people's rage. His restraint is louder than chaos. Control doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you don't fold. It means you can experience pain without letting it dictate your next move. You can feel betrayal but still act with strategy. You can be tired but still remain consistent. That's true strength, to operate with focus even when your emotions are screaming against you. Emotional control isn't about being cold, It's about being conscious. It's about understanding that not every feeling deserves a reaction, and not every reaction deserves your energy. Every time life throws you into pain, you're being tested emotionally. Life wants to see if you'll lose control. It wants to see if you can stay rational when it feels personal. Most people fail that test. They take everything emotionally. They turn setbacks into breakdowns. They make temporary emotions into permanent decisions. But if you can train yourself to stay grounded in chaos, you become a rare breed, unshakable, unbothered, and unbreakable. Because while everyone else is drowning in their feelings, you're still moving strategically toward your goal. Imagine going through betrayal, and instead of getting angry, you analyze it, you study it, you see what you missed, what you allowed, what patterns were there. That's power. That's control. You're not wasting time on revenge because you're too busy improving yourself. You're not shouting your pain because you're turning it into silence, and silence is your strength. When your emotions no longer control your actions, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is the highest form of dominance. People who can't control their emotions are easily manipulated. They're like open books, showing everyone exactly how to hurt them. They get provoked, tricked, and broken because they react exactly how others want them to. But when you have control, no one can use your feelings against you. You stop being a pawn in other people's games and start becoming the player. When you master yourself, nobody else can master you. That's what separates leaders from followers, the ability to stay composed when everyone else is collapsing. The mind is a battlefield, and your emotions are the enemy's soldiers trying to infiltrate it. Every time you give in to anger, to fear, to despair, you're letting them win territory. You must defend your mind like a fortress. You must train yourself to pause before reacting. That pause, that tiny moment of awareness, is where power is born. Because in that moment, you're not reacting, you're choosing. And choice is what makes a man powerful. Control doesn't happen overnight. You build it through pain. Every time you resist an emotional reaction, you grow stronger. Every time you endure discomfort without losing your composure, you harden your mental armor. Over time, chaos stops affecting you the same way. People's opinions lose power. Failure loses sting. You stop being easily moved by emotion because you've trained yourself to operate from principle, not from impulse. Pain is always coming, you can't avoid it. But if you can master your emotions in the middle of it, you can turn every painful moment into an advantage. While others are busy reacting, you're busy building. While they're wasting energy on feelings, you're investing energy into focus. That's why emotional control is the true mark of a warrior, because the strongest man isn't the one who fights hardest. It's the one who can stand still when the world is burning and still think clearly. That's how you win in life. That's how you turn pain into power. There's a reason the strongest men in history spent time alone, because isolation isn't loneliness, it's refinement. When you're alone, distractions fade. The fake friends disappear. The noise of society gets quieter. And suddenly, for the first time, you can actually hear your own thoughts. Most people fear that silence because they're terrified of what they'll find inside. But the truth is, isolation is where warriors are forged. It's where discipline becomes identity and pain becomes fuel. Alone, you face the truth. And when you can face truth without flinching, nothing can break you anymore. Everyone wants strength, but no one wants solitude. They crave company, validation, constant stimulation, anything to avoid being left alone with themselves. They'll scroll endlessly, party recklessly, or surround themselves with shallow people just to avoid silence. But a man who constantly runs from silence is a man who's running from growth. Because silence exposes you. It reveals your weaknesses, your insecurities, your fake motivations. And that's exactly why isolation is powerful. It forces you to confront who you really are. When you're surrounded by people, you can lie to yourself. You can hide behind appearances, distractions, and noise. But when you're alone, there's nowhere to hide. That's when you see how disciplined you actually are. That's when you learn if you really want success or just like the idea of it. Because isolation is the mirror that reflects truth. It strips you down to your rawest form, no filters, no excuses, just you. And in that moment, you either break or rebuild. You start to notice that isolation doesn't just make you mentally sharper, it makes you spiritually dangerous. Because when you stop needing external approval, you become unstoppable. Nobody's opinions control you anymore. Nobody's validation defines your worth. You move in silence and your actions start to speak louder than any words ever could. That's why isolation isn't weakness, it's evolution. Every great transformation begins with separation. You separate from your old habits, your old environment, and the old version of yourself that kept you comfortable. When you're alone, pain hits differently. There's no one to blame, no one to comfort you, no one to distract you. It's just you and the pain staring each other down. That's when most people break, but that's also when warriors rise. Because the man who can face his pain alone becomes immune to external chaos. He doesn't crumble under pressure because he's already survived worse in silence. Isolation builds emotional resilience. It teaches you to rely on yourself, to find peace within chaos, and to turn solitude into strength. The world tries to convince you that isolation means something's wrong with you. But think about it, lions don't travel in herds. Wolves don't need approval from sheep. The most powerful beings operate in silence, working on themselves, sharpening their craft, while the rest of the world is distracted. You need that space to grow. Because when you step away from the noise, you start to see who's really with you and who was just there for convenience. You start cutting off dead weight, not out of anger, but out of necessity. Isolation gives you clarity. It helps you realize that not everyone deserves access to you. Your time, your mind, your energy, they're sacred. And when you isolate, you learn to guard them. You stop wasting hours on people who drain you and start investing that energy back into your own development. You read more, you train harder, you plan deeper. You become the kind of person that others can't ignore. Because while they were chasing attention, you were chasing mastery. But here's what people miss: isolation isn't permanent. It's preparation. You isolate to rebuild. You step away to come back sharper. Just like a warrior retreats to sharpen his blade, you withdraw to sharpen your mind. When you return, you're different, stronger, more focused, more disciplined. The things that used to bother you don't touch you anymore. The distractions that used to control you lose their grip. That's the power of isolation. It transforms you quietly until the world doesn't recognize you anymore. When you embrace solitude, you learn how little you actually need. You stop chasing constant entertainment, validation, and comfort. You find peace and stillness. You start creating from a place of control, not chaos. That's when you become dangerous, because the man who needs nothing can't be controlled by anything. Isolation turns you into that man. It doesn't make you heartless. It makes you grounded. It doesn't make you antisocial. It makes you self-aware. It gives you the mental space to see what truly matters and the strength to pursue it without fear. You start realizing that your greatest ideas, your biggest growth, and your most powerful evolution come when no one is watching. Because isolation is where you build the version of yourself that the world eventually applauds. The discipline, the focus, the strength, it all comes from those silent hours where no one's cheering, no one's watching, and no one's helping. That's the price of becoming powerful. You pay for greatness in silence long before you collect it in success. At the end of the day, your pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Everything you've been through, every betrayal, every loss, every dark night where you thought it was over, it was shaping you into someone unshakable. You weren't meant to stay broken. You were meant to learn how to rebuild yourself stronger than before. That's what pain does. It refines you. It burns away weakness until all that's left is resilience. You have two choices every time life hits you: collapse or rise. The weak search for comfort, the strong search for purpose. And purpose is always found through pain, because it's in your lowest moments that you discover what you're really made of. It's in the silence that you find your voice. It's in the struggle that you find your strength. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are what you decide to become despite them. The world will always test you. It will always try to break you, but it cannot defeat a man who refuses to surrender. That's the truth. Most people run from that greatness is built in the fire, not in the comfort zone. The men who rise are the ones who stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Try me." So if you're in pain right now, understand this: it's not there to destroy you, it's there to develop you. Every scar is a lesson. Every tear is a teacher. Every obstacle is a mirror showing you who you could become if you refuse to give up. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Face it. Let it mold you. Let it harden you. Let it push you beyond what you thought you were capable of. Because one day, you'll look back and realize the pain you cursed was the very thing that built the version of you capable of winning. Your pain has a purpose. It's sculpting the warrior within you. The question isn't whether life will test you, it's whether you'll stand tall when it does. Because when you understand that your pain is not your enemy but your evolution, you stop surviving and start conquering.